Well, hi. Is your China excavator too jumpy? Do you have pilot controls that seem to jerk way too much? Well, stay tuned. Enough of that crap. Anyway, AGT LS15R, I don't remember. LS15R with the pilot controls. I've got two modifications that we're going to do today. One is hopefully going to be the spring dings that go under there, but I just played with it a little bit off camera to make sure that I was going the right direction, and boy, I think I found the fix for it. So anyway, here we are, 43 hours minus something because I left the battery switch on because it's wired poorly, and you leave the key on and the hour meter stays. Story for another time. Change the engine oil, little on the thin side, little shiny, but here was the Amazon special Predator hose extension, so now I'll be able to just go like so. Boop. Now it's got a tail, and you can you know, drain your oil. Anyway, here's where all the magic's happening. Up a little bit here. This is your main power solenoid. There is a lock switch located right here, and that makes sure that these don't do anything. So when you start it and your joystick is setting up on your throttle and you have it locked, it starts turning and lifting. So make sure that you are always leaving that in the locked position when you are off the machine. Anyway, here's your solenoid. It's just taped from the factory, so do a 0.5% better and get the heat shrink seal butt connectors and redo the wires in there. Also, I had to pull my cover apart because the wires, or the screws holding the wires, were loose inside of there, but got those tightened up and wiring 10% better. Now, find a presumably 5mm Allen wrench. Take your 15/16mm wrench. Make sure that this flow valve, control valve, solenoid block is tight. Yep, it's snug, so it's not going to leak. Now you take your 3/4mm, put this on the lock nut, which is the outer smallest nut, holding the center threads with the Allen key. You will righty tighty lefty loosey that a little bit, and it should turn by hand. Can we see that? We're now loosening the lock nut. You go over, make sure you're locked, turn your battery switch back on because you left it on, pull your choke out, set that over there. And now I will demonstrate the jerkiness of it, how I received it from the factory. We're being dramatic here. Full tilt. Now it doesn't look terrible when you're horsing around, but Jesus Christ! If you get too rowdy with it, it gets dangerous. So now back to everything that I was saying before. Make sure the entire valve is tight. This is hot now, so if I get burned, it's your fault. Your locking nut is loose, so you want to turn this in starting small. Now, because I've already done this, I know that I'm going to go 1 full revolution in, and then I'm going to go another 1/4 turn. So what we're doing is turning in this little threaded piece, which will reduce the flow that comes from this line here into this solenoid block. It will reduce the flow, therefore reducing the amount of pressure. Flow and pressure is a different thing. Anyway, it reduces the amount of fluid that goes into your pilot hoses. So your it's not charge pressure either. Your pilot pressure comes up into this distribution block up here with your hand. Then, once there's charge pressure, nope. There's a certain amount of pressure that comes into the center of this block. When you depress that, it lets fluid go into this port. Then it goes ramming down that hose, and it comes up into these lines here. So then your pilot controls are what activates this. So instead of the center section ones that have a lever that you're actually moving the valves inside of here, it's hydraulic pressure from this valve going to this valve, opening it. So you could move these anywhere you want. You can put them anywhere you want. You could run hoses 500 yards down there, and it'd actually be better because fluid dynamics and hoses and all that stuff. But you could put it wherever you want, and you could still operate this machine. So by reducing the pressure, or flow rate, I guess would be the more technical term. Flow rate is connected to pressure. Anyway, as you push on it, it's going to take longer for the fluid pressure to build enough to where it moves the lever for the actual machine controls, where you have your hydraulic charge pressure that goes out to the lines and controls all of this high quality goodness here. So now that we have that slowed down, also it's like tuning a carburetor. Remember how many turns you did it? So if you put it all back together and it's absolute garbage, you know how to undo it. Lock nut is not locked down, so just remember that. Make sure your choke's pulled out. Better than it was. So it was 1.5. Alright, let's try it again. Now I'm still going full tilt just to be dramatic here. Much better. that was a total. So that was a total of 2.5 turns in. Now, reducing flow does cause more heat. Restriction valves cause heat. If you really want to remove jerkiness, a guy should buy 3-4 small accumulators, put one on each system, and but for, let's see, 14 minutes and $0 is the most important part. This thing is now reasonably less jerky. So next I'll probably start messing with charge pressure, going to the main block, see if I can up that a little bit. Same deal. Yeah, hey, you gotta have gauges. Just know what it's at and don't crank it. Like, don't get greedy with it, and it'll be good. Almost forgot the previously mentioned modification. I also just did the old foot control swap here for free. Also, for those of you staying tuned at home, this is your main hydraulic pressure that comes in and feeds the rest of these banks. Turns out if you turn that one in, it snorts the engine down a lot harder, meaning it's making more pressure, feeding more power to your hydraulic cylinders. So anyway, a guy should have a set of gauges to do that. Make sure that you don't overstimulate the hoses. But anyway, here we have a completely random 5/8 by 10.5 compression spring from Menards. It was like $4 or something. Seen some other guys talking about this and saying it's working out pretty good for them. So if you just want to hang out in my pocket here for a moment, we'll give this a go. Let's see, I would like to have just a little bit. I've got some Super Nipex dikes here, and they do have enough snort. So I'm just going to cut one. Let's put the lid down here. Okay, now that's a little more better. Just insert it like so, I believe. I wish I had a gauge. Yeah, there's definitely more resistance this way or that way. Maybe I cut it just a little longer, maybe one coil. So let's see. We're going to call this the same length to there. Let's try this coil. Oh, come on, Nipex. A grinder would work better too. So we've got about 1.5 coils longer. Now that will take a little bit of compression to get it in there. I like the way it feels though. 10.5 may not be long enough. There's dose. Let's go for... That's 3. Oops. And that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Installation, very simple. Push your joystick to the other side, slightly compress the spring, insert spring, and repeat. Spring is inserted. Okay. Definitely see, I don't know how to see what this does. Take the spring, that's how much it bends, and without, it's kind of shows what we're doing. Whoa. See? More resistance. Should equal more control, hopefully. there's that. Now if you want to get fancy with it, you could probably tuck all your little tails in by rotating. Ooh, that feels good. Feels like a quality machine. Floppy dingus. Much better. So there's that. Again, it's all up to user feel and what you think feels better. It didn't have a measurement. Let's see part number. Part number from Midwest Fastener Corp. SRM 181, or maybe it's 88283. Don't know. But yeah, between tightening, putting in the thing down at the bottom here on your pilot controls, reducing the amount of hydraulic pressure that comes up into these so it doesn't act so fast. Now you could put an actuator on every one of those hoses. You could put larger lines, fluid dynamics, more fluid, it's slower. Smaller line, it's faster, less fluid. So you could do it multiple ways. But then side note, also after I turned up the pressure that goes to this entire block, I did have to slow everything back down. So it's a continual game of just messing around with controls and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. And yeah, so far I'm happy with it. Dog's barking at nothing. But I think what I'm going to do for the foot pads, since I switched that, I don't remember what video I'm on anymore. But anyway, foot pads will need to be longer, but it is so much better. So if you haven't seen that one, or if this is that video, go out there and switch your hoses. Now for real, goodbye.